The life of a cycling team can be tumultuous, and few have been as up and down as Jumbo-Visma's. Yet their stellar performance so far in 2019 marks a new era of stability for the Dutch squad. This newfound vigour has arguably been the work of one man. Richard Plugge's background is fairly unique amongst World Tour team bosses, and one that's helped turn this storied team's history around.
So when I was 18, I became a journalist and did just, the short pieces for football, sports journalist, all kinds of sports. I became the editor of the cycling magazine, and that was because passion and profession came together. After a couple of years, the Rabobank asked me to design a new policy on the communication of the Rabobank team, because it was more of a bank team than a sports team. And that was the moment I joined the Rabobank team.
Rabobank had been one of the biggest names in cycling for over 2 decades. Alongside its big spend philosophy, the team had also been associated with cycling's dark side. So much so, its financial backers pulled the plug on the eve of the 2013 season, mere months after Plugge had joined.
They stopped, and I said, well, what are we going to do now? And then they asked me if I wanted to take it over. The very short version is that the day after, no, a couple of months later, I had a team, and I bought the team, and we proceeded with it.
Initially competing without a named sponsor, Plugge quickly turned attention to securing the future for his new team.
It's a lot of time putting in finding sponsors. That's where most of my energy went. Trying to survive, trying to find a sponsor for another 2 years, trying to get some guarantees. For me, it was just surviving. It was Rabobank pulled out, then we had Belkin pulled out, and then after 1 year, first Lotto Jumbo, we had some longer term vision we could roll out.
By the start of 2015, Plugge finally had the firm footing needed to launch his vision for the team. Whereas Rabobank had spent big on known names, a new approach to finding and signing riders would prove to be the backbone of Plugge's new outfit.
We changed from just looking at a list of riders and how good they are, but also what personality do they have, what background do they have, and things like that. So we put in way more effort before we hire one. I'd like to hire people that fit in our culture, that fit in our team. And you cannot see that from a list, and you cannot see that from the results. Dylan Groenewegen is an example that, who was not the biggest rider in the Dutch market, but at the moment is maybe the best rider in the world. And we gave him the time, but also we took the time, we invested in him.
An even bigger coup was with an unknown Slovenian who'd only just turned to cycling from ski jumping, Primož Roglič.
I thought he could be a star if he could ever win or be in the position to win a Grand Tour. That was not at that moment my first impression, but what I knew was that he had a really good test, so he was really strong. Of course, we spoke before he joined the team, and if you speak with him and the way he thinks about things and he talks, to me he was already. I was like, okay, this is another level. This is a good character, So that's what you see then. What you feel. And that's not a guarantee that he will ever become a GC contender in a Grand Tour, but he has everything in order to become it later.
The 2016 Giro d'Italia would prove a watershed moment for the team. With Roglič announcing himself on the world stage with a time trial victory, Steven Kruijswijk was mixing it up in the intense battle for the overall win. While a dramatic crash on the Colle d'Agnello ended dreams of a first Grand Tour victory for Plugge, the race had provided a clear focus for the future.
We had Steven Kruijswijk, we had Robert Geesink, we had really good riders. But as I call it, the second line of the team was not really world class. And that's what we learned even more in 2016. From that moment on, we put in more effort into finding people like Antoine, Laurens de Plus, Sepp Kuss, riders who can help, for example, Steven Kruijswijk, and later on Primož Roglič, but also George Bennett, who made a real steep progression curve.
With Roglič reaching the podium at 2019's Giro, a growing sense that Jumbo-Visma are inching towards a Grand Tour victory, fulfilling Plugge's vision, is edging ever closer.
I'd like my team to become one of the big teams in the peloton. We are still way below average budget, for example, and we need to grow budget-wise, but also as a team. We are still in progression, and our team is growing, and it's getting better, and we still have to make the next step.